Imagine your father asking you to help him install a cellar door only to be locked inside by him for the next 24 years of your life. Elizabeth Fritzl was freshly 18 and ready to leave the nest when one day in 1984, her father, Joseph Fritzl, asked her to help him install the door in the basement of their home in Austria. Unaware of his horrific intentions, Elizabeth obliged. As they finished and she was heading out, he suddenly covered her face in a cloth soaked in ether. For the next 24 years, Elizabeth had to endure a suffering that no one could fathom. Joseph convinced his wife, other children, and their neighbors that Elizabeth ran away and joined some religious cult. They believed it because she had previously run away and stayed with a friend for 20 days when she was 15 to get away from her father's abuse, which started when she was 11. Police found her after those 20 days and brought her back home. If it wasn't terrible enough being forced to endure the blazing summers and catching rats with her bare hands, she was also repeatedly abused by her own father over the years of captivity. Initially, he tied her up with an iron chain so that she could barely move, but it caused trouble during the horrendous activities he put her through, and he removed it months later. For the first 5 years in the basement, she was all alone. He assaulted her at least 3,000 times in those 24 years, which resulted in her birthing 7 children. She gave birth to all her children with no medical help for almost 12 years. Joseph provided her with just a disinfectant, a dirty pair of scissors, and a book on childbirth. One of her children died prematurely due to difficulty breathing just 3 days after his birth in 1996. When the baby started to come, Elizabeth tried to end it all, but looking at her kids, she had purpose to live after the initial years of being alone. Joseph held control over her by threatening to end the lives of her and her children if they ever tried to escape. He would also turn off the lights in the basement for days on end so that she'd be in complete darkness. 3 of her children were in the basement with her, while the other 3 mysteriously appeared on the doorstep of Joseph and Rosemary, Elizabeth's mother, as per his planning. He doctored letters to Rosemary from Elizabeth saying that she was well but couldn't take care of the children. One day, Elizabeth's oldest daughter, Kirsten, who was 19 at the time, became extremely ill and needed immediate hospitalization. This is when Elizabeth pleaded with her father to get Kirsten medical attention. Joseph Fritzl, who had never shown mercy in those 24 years, surprisingly took Kirsten to the hospital. This is when things took a turn. Crime Fanatic Friday, Part 2, the girl enslaved in the basement for 24 years by her own father. When Elizabeth's daughter, Kirsten, arrived at the hospital, the doctors who were attending her became deeply suspicious by her condition. They later alerted police officials who put an appeal in the media and broadcasted repeatedly for Kirsten's mother to come forward with necessary information if they want to save her life. Little did they know, Elizabeth Fritzl, Kirsten's mother, was locked in the basement she had lived in for 24 years, watching the broadcast over and over with her 2 other children. This is when Elizabeth begged her father, Joseph Fritzl, to let her go. He was growing old and saw his powers waning, finding it difficult to maintain both families. He hatched a plan on how to get rid of all of this without too many questions being asked and told some stories to the hospital staff when he took Elizabeth to see Kirsten. However, they didn't believe his stories and police questioned Elizabeth in a separate room of the hospital. She recounted the last 24 years being held prisoner by her father, assaulted, beaten, and birthing 7 children by him. In 2009, Joseph Fritzl was arrested and sentenced to life in prison. He suffers from dementia now and was said to be ill in 2019. Elizabeth and her 3 children who were raised by her parents were reunited. They were all given support from a local psychiatric center to help with their deep traumas. She eventually moved to a fortress in a remote Austrian village with her children and changed her name. It has steel fencing, video cameras, CCTV, operated gates, and trees shielding the windows. Her children are now all adults that range in age from 20 to 35. Initially, Elizabeth wanted nothing to do with her mother, Rosemary, thinking that she was part of Joseph's plan and that there was no way she didn't know the truth. But years later, they became friends and see each other often. In 2019, it was reported that Elizabeth found love with her bodyguard. Apparently, everyone from the beginning could see how secure she felt with him.
Am I wrong for hiding embarrassing notes in my house as a joke because I know my fiance's mom snoops? I bought a house 7 years ago and I met my fiance, Al, 4 years ago. We were talking about making it a home for both of us. But as of now, he hasn't moved much stuff in. Right now, 95% of the stuff and furniture in the house is mine. When his mom comes over, she's kind of a snoop. He was used to that, but when she comes to our house, it's so uncomfortable because she's just going through my shit. When I am bothered, she's like, I was just helping with chores, etc. He says I should just let her because she has a lot of nervous energy. One thing she snooped on was actually embarrassing. In my home office, I had a little affirmation post-it note on my monitor saying, I am smart, I am skilled, I am deserving of great things. And it was a silly thing my therapist recommended to get me in a confident mindset before an interview. Anyway, she made a comment about my ego. But as a joke, I decided to do it again. I had my best friend over and we got wine drunk and wrote a bunch of affirmations to hide. Some were medicine cabinet, my tooth will regrow, I am shark-like and powerful. Kitchen drawers, I know when to spoon, but I also know when to fork. I am sexy and self-assured. Work desk, I will not just F my way to the top of the company, I will F my way to the top of the world. Walk-in closet, I am beautiful with clothes and without, especially without. My boobs are legendary. There was a bunch more and my friend and I had a hilarious time writing them. Next time mother-in-law came over, she saw a few, and she didn't acknowledge them to me even though she definitely started acting a little weird around me. I went to run some errands and when I was out, she confronted Al about the notes and was trying to tell him that I seemed unstable, egoistical, and moving in was a bad idea. She showed him the notes and he didn't really know what to make of it. He asked me and I said that they were just some silly private notes to boost my self-confidence and make myself laugh. Had she been going through my things? Oh, you're smart. God, women are so smart. I love women. He said that she was just tidying and saw them, and they were really weird. I was like, have you met me? You should know how weird I am. Anyway, if you don't want your mom seeing my weird shit, you've got to stop letting her go through my shit. He asked if I left them on purpose to annoy her, and I admitted that was kind of the joke, but I also have other weird or private shit, so what I said about her needing to stop snooping if she didn't want to find weird crap was still for real. He said I was making stuff hard for him. His mom was really protective and adjusting to him moving in with his girlfriend for the first time, and I was agitating her on purpose and making her think I wouldn't be a good partner when he wanted her to have the opposite impression of me. So, am I the asshole for the note prank? No, I think this is funny. Like, I don't understand the need for how people can be so comfortable to snoop through other people's things. You know, that's just weird. My brother saw a ghost as a kid. 2 decades later, I realized what he actually saw. I was about 7 years old. My brother was about 10. It was well past our bedtime when our mom woke up off the couch to put us to bed. Our dad worked construction out of town back then, so it was often just us three at home for weeks at a time. Up the stairs and to the immediate right was our parents' bedroom. Going left put you in the middle of a hallway. Taking another left down the hallway led to my brother's room. The opposite end was my room, which was also across the hall from our upstairs bathroom. At either end of the hallway are window doors we always kept locked and rarely used. The door on my end led to a balcony overlooking our front yard, and the door on my brother's end opened up to our back porch. My brother and mom both had a habit of waking up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom. I only knew this because I was always a light sleeper and they just couldn't help flushing with the door wide open. This night, however, my brother stopped on his way to the room and came back towards the bathroom. I'm gonna try to pee before I go to bed. These past few nights, I've been too afraid to walk to the bathroom. I keep seeing a man wearing stripes at the end of the hallway. I don't know if my mom wrote it off as my brother telling ghost stories to try to scare me, or if she was already half asleep and didn't catch it, but she didn't react at all to my brother's confession. I, on the other hand, was terrified by it. The fear of seeing a ghost like that at the end of the hallway or through the windows is the reason I started running from the stairs to my bedroom at night. Years later, when I was about 18, my mom and I were having a conversation in the car about a dog we had for a very short time when I was little. We were sharing stories about Max's tendencies toward destroying my shoes and other unruly behaviors when my mom blurted out, "Do you remember that time I opened the front door for the cops and Max ran inside to the kitchen and started tearing open the big bag of dog food we had?" This really caught me by surprise because in all the years I lived in that house, we never once called the cops. I asked her what she was talking about and she looked equally surprised as if she just revealed something by accident. "Oh, that's right. I never told you because you were too young at the time. One night, I woke up hearing noises outside my window, and when I looked, I saw a man staring into my bedroom." She went on to describe how turning on the lights caused him to take off running and how she grabbed my dad's pistol before calling the cops. I can't remember all the details I gave them when they showed up. Tall, white male, wearing a striped shirt and jeans, short dark hair, something like that. They said it matched the description of a man they were looking for in that area. It turns out he had escaped from jail on a murder charge. Now, I know it sounds so obvious hearing those two stories back to back, but it wasn't until a few years ago in my mid-20s that I pieced together that my brother had unknowingly warned us about a murderer who spent multiple nights chasing our home.
Am I the asshole for refusing to have my facial scar photoshopped for the wedding? Me and my fiance Aaron are getting married soon. We're done with wedding planning, although my future mother-in-law basically disagreed with every arrangement we had. While Aaron and I were discussing the wedding photos and my facial scar that I had in my 20s came up. Aaron suggested we had this area photoshopped and I laughed thinking he was joking, but he said it was for real. He explained this is what photoshopping is for and these are wedding photos that will last years and he'd rather them be flawless. I asked if he saw my face as a flaw and he immediately apologized and said absolutely not. He then admitted it was his mom's suggestion. Am I the asshole for refusing to have my facial scar photoshopped for the wedding? He said she had a point this time and I refused and we began fighting. Aaron said I was overreacting and it's not about the scar itself but overall the look of the photos and I was being too sensitive for no reason. I had an argument with my future mother-in-law after she nicely tried to talk me into considering it. Most of the women in the family agreed with her and Aaron and said this is what photoshopping is for and lots of people do it, especially when they're not happy with a certain area and their appearance. But I'm not bothered by it and they're saying I need to go to therapy for past trauma, but I don't think this has anything to do with it. Aaron says he loves me no matter what and I shouldn't be hung up on this. Am I the asshole for telling my wife she should get a nose job? I, 31 male, love my wife, 30 female, and we've been married for 3 years. There's nothing I would change about her except for that she's really insecure about her nose. As a result, she gets really aggressive over it when I try to comfort her. For as long as I remember, she's always hated her nose and mentions it every single day. And when I would try to comfort her and tell her that it's beautiful, she doesn't have to change anything, she would get aggressive. On top of getting aggressive, she would yell at me and call me a liar. Well, 2 weeks ago, she got a raise at her job, and today she suggested the idea of getting a nose job. Am I the asshole for telling my wife she should get a nose job? Anytime I would tell her that her nose is beautiful and she doesn't have to change anything, she'd get aggressive and yell that I'm a liar. Well, 2 weeks ago, she got a raise at her job, and today she suggested the idea of getting a nose job. I said that if she's that insecure about it to the point where it's affecting her mental health, then she should get it done. She got extremely upset over this and said I should have said no to the idea. She then left the house to go to her mother's, and I haven't been able to get in touch with her since. And again, we've been together for 3 years, and there's nothing I would change about her.